So tell me your name and your age.
My name is Gorge Norris, and I'm 91 years old.
Okay.
Been around a long time. Seen a lot of things.
When and where were you born?
I was born in Stewart, Ohio, in a kind of a shed. That was a long time ago, in 1924, and last year I wandered back to that place back there. And by grace of the old shed was still there, but it was about to fall down. But the outhouse was gone. Of course, that's all we had was an outhouse back then, and it was already gone. But it's just them distant memories, and then we moved from there on down into Rockland, Ohio. And, some people think it's Belpre, but it wasn't. It was Rockland. Had some other places. And anyway, that's where I started out at.
Kind of along the lines of that question, I was going to ask, where did you live, and describe growing up there?
Well, I grew up in Rockland, and of course this was all farm country. There was but a few houses up and down what they call Washington Boulevard now, and it was just a gravel dirt road, and of course you'd see your teams of horses come along with plows and stuff on them, and so a lot of guys had mules. Some of the guys had mules that they worked, and of course that's what we done all our work with was horses and mules. But we was back in the 20s and 30s. We awful poor. It was no money. I mean, you just wasn't any money to get. And I think about kids today. Boy, I'll tell you, toys. We never got toys. Nobody had toys. You couldn't buy toys. You made your own toys. You know, slingshots, and I was a pretty good shot with a slingshot. But anyway, we'd make our own toys, and all back then, you know, about every year there was a flood on the high river. Of course, it wasn't these dams in there. And down the lower part, where the road goes down towards Wendy's and down in that way, that was just all farmland. But I've seen that all covered with water, where all that stuff sat down in there now. And of course, there was no road in there; it was just all farmland. But it was a great place to grow up in. I mean, of course, we had our ups and downs with everything, but you dug your living out of the ground. I mean, there wasn't stores to run to and pick up everything, you know.
If you can recall, what's your first, most vivid memory ever?
I was crawling on the ground. We had a lady stayed with us. She taught school, and they called that boarding. She was boarding with us. That was what that was like they'd say today. Well, they paid so much and came, but she paid what little bit she could. She was a school teacher, but anyhow, I was just crawling on the ground. I was a wee little shaver, and crawling on the ground. And she had one of them old mowers. She was a mowing. I had one of them old mowers that had that big sickle that inside, that not like the one that turns around it. But anyway, something went into that mower, and I was crawling on the ground, and I grabbed for it, and I cut that one finger, my middle finger. I cut it all. It fell off. It didn't fall off. I mean, it stuck there. But my little finger, it cut it off. So them some memories that I always remember. But anyway, it was a great life. I know people. I'd like to live it all over again. it was tough, and but my goodness, we grew up. We grew up tough. You know, you had to be tough. And of course, we all worked. Everybody worked. I mean, the whole family worked, and of course, you know, you had your. Well, we always butchered on Thanksgiving, and all the farmers did, and we'd help each other, you know. And but just it was a great time to be born, I think, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But we'd going to school. Had to walk to school, but I can remember my shoes. I had this pair of shoes, of course, but wore them on Sunday to church, and but during the week, most of the time I went barefooted. And but the old shoes the soles got come out of them, and when I was in school time, Mom would put cardboard in there so my feet wouldn't get on the ground. But if it was damp and wet, why, the cardboard get wet, you know, going to school. But just some things that, you know, you always remember. But
what was your fondest memory as a child?
Oh, I got so many of them. Fondest memory, well, I hadn't really thought too much about memories. There was everything you remembered, but what I really think it always sticks in my mind as a memory as a kid. One of the things I slept on an old straw tick. That's all we had. I slept on a straw tick. That was it'd be like a big pillow with straw all in it, you know. And every spring I'd have to dump that old straw out and put new straw in there, and that was a memory that I've always had. And but I just had so many memories that. And on Thanksgiving Day, that was a great memory because all the farmers got together and butchered, and everybody had hogs, you know, most in. That's how we had our meat. And there was no Kroger's or nothing to go to. And but that's one time that I remember real well, you know.
Did you have anything in particular that you really enjoyed, or your favorite things to do when you were growing up as a child?
Well, us boys, when we wasn't working, we would get together and we'd play, and nobody had well, one of the boys, buddies of mine, I think it was Russell Covey. I think he had a wagon, and of course we'd get play with that wagon, and we was all playing around out there, and as you go up there to well, there's a car lot. I don't know what they call that hill. Goes down to the river, where all those cars are parked up there. That he's got a car lot, big car lot. But anyway, there's a road goes down over that hill, but it's steep, and it was all gravel, you know. And they called me a daredevil. I'd do about anything they'd dare me to do. So they dared me to get down over that hill in that wagon. So I took them up on it, and I got in it, and down over there I went, and I don't know, I got about half down, and of course that big old handle sticking up there, and that thing hit a rock and flipped that thing around, hit me in the nose and knocked me backwards out of that thing. It liked to kill me. I bled all the way home. There's some of the memories that I haven't. But oh my, the things that us boys done, and we one time everybody had a slingshot. I'm pretty good with slingshot. I can knock a bird off a post pretty easy, but you had to just go out and find a tree that had the right kind of a forks in it and cut it off, and then we'd find an old inner tube somebody took out of a car or something, you know. We'd cut strips out of an inner tube, and we'd, on the forks of that, you'd pull that around there and tighten it up, and if you get a piece of, well, like rope, a small rope, you tie that down, you know, so it'd stay. That's how we had to make our own toys, you know, if we had any. But then we used to, I was thinking the other day, I used to have it was a little wheel, but we'd take a wire, a hard wire, get it so long, and you'd just turn it a certain way, and you could take and run, that wheel would go, you know, and you'd take and run that wheel around, like, you know, and so that was part of the fun. And we played marble. Yes, some of the boys had marbles, but it was a great life, I'll tell you. We really enjoyed it.
Where did you go to school?
Rockland, Rockland, it was a Rockland grade school. I went there until 6th grade, and then I left there and went to Belpre High School. I graduated down there in 1942.
Do you remember who your friends were in school?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember them, and my goodness, about all of them's gone. That's the sad part, you know. And I have one or two guys. It's one guy especially, Bob Parker. Him and I are still going on. I don't know how whether there's any more of us are left or not, but there might be one or two somewhere. But I get to see Bob every once in a while, you know, and we talk. And we was on a track team. We run track with, and we won. Let's see, district. I think we won it 4 years in a row. And I was good. I got to go to state. I was up in Columbus. Boy, when I got up there, I seen there was the guys up there. They could run. But things like that in our school days was great. I mean, I wasn't a straight A student by any means, but I got through. But no, they were school years. It was great, and we had good teachers, and it's just, I'd like to go back and do it all over again. Yeah, I would.
Did you have any particular subjects that you enjoyed in school?
Arithmetic was what I like. Arithmetic, yeah. Yeah. I had a teacher that taught it. Her name was, I think that was 9th grade. And of course I wasn't an angel in school, but anyway, I never forget, I was cutting up one day and doing I've been a guy, a footloose and fancy free. I do things that just on a instant, you know. But anyway, I can't remember what I yelled or I said something, and but boy, she come back there and nailed me by the hair of the head, and shaking me good, and I grabbed her arm, and she started hollering. Of course, you know, pretty stout back there, and kids, I mean, you're milking cows, and you got a lot of grip, and you don't realize, and I think I hurt her arm, and I never did talk to her after that. Knowing what I know now, I'd apologize to her, you know, but back then, you was a kid, you just, well, it wasn't, but well, school years was great.
What dreams and goals did you have for yourself after graduating or after school?
To get out of school. I said graduation. I said, them girls all stand around there crying. I said, what's the matter with you? He's getting out of school. I said, you ought to be happy.
Did you have any heroes or role models when you were a child?
Just my dad. He was my everything, you know, and he was a big man and a hardy man and a great father. Nobody could have had a better. But Dad was the type of man. What he said, he meant, you know, and that was a great thing for me growing up. And I can remember he was always taking me everywhere he went, you know, and I was a little tyke, and he'd always have me by the hand. And so he went down there at the store to get some paint, and an old hardwood store. It was downtown Belpre then, and he got the gallon of paint, and he had me in the hand and was going up the old we had an old Overland truck, and he had it. And I said, let me carry it, Daddy. I want to carry it. No, you can't carry it. Now you'll drop it on your feet, and it's too heavy. And I kept jawing at him, well, let me carry it. And finally he said, all right. He said, I'm telling you, it's too heavy. He handed it to me, and of course, I was like a bullheaded kid, you know. And I took it, and I was a little old codger, and he done just what he said to do. I dropped it. And of course, on the bottom of it, there was kind of a lip, you know. Boy, I about cut my toe off. So that one lesson, I thought, well, Dad knew what he was talking about.
What do your parents do for a living?
Farm. Everything back then was farm. I mean, you farmed or you didn't eat, practically, you know. Just, it was, well, you'd go to bed at dark and you'd get up at daylight. And Mom would always have a big breakfast and maybe a bunch of eggs. Of course, we always had chores to do, you know, and chickens to feed and hogs to, you know, we always raised hogs to eat, and cows to milk, and the horse to take care of, and all that stuff, you know. But that was just what you had to do, and there was no we had no radio or anything like that. It just all you had was what you heard, you know, from other people. But I'd like to do it all over again.
What do you remember most about your parents?
They were great Christian people. Everything was through God, Jesus Christ. Everything was that. And one of the things that I remember so well, every night they would go in the old, we had an old, what we call a Davenport. It was the thing you sat on, and an old chair or two in there, and Dad and Mom would go in there, and us kids would take us kids, and we'd all kneel down, and Mom would read the Bible, and Dad would pray, and then Mom would pray, you know, and that's always stuck in my memory, and so I do owe them a lot for that. I mean, we were taught about God, and my mother was she was a great Christian lady. Oh, she was a prayer warrior. Oh my, how she could pray! But that's one of the greatest memories about just in the evening, you know, to be there. And
how many brothers and sisters?
I had one brother and one sister.
What memories do you have of each of them growing up?
Well, of course, I was about 4 or 5 years older, yeah, than my brother. And of course, my sister, we had any playtime. Of course, we played some together, you know, as kids. And as we grew older, why, then my sister, she was kind of sickly. But she graduated from school and everything. But we always had a good time. And my brother, he was younger than me, of course. And but of course, eventually my sister, she got sugar diabetes and passed away. But Roscoe, that's my brother. He's still jogging around, living. He comes over home every once in a while. We sit and talk, you know. And we had a great family. There was no problems in our family. It was always a great. And
did you get to go on any vacations when you were younger?
no, that was unheard of. You know, your vacation was at home. It was working. Yeah, no, there's no vacations. But
Who was more strict, your mom or your dad?
well,
And do you have any vivid memories of something that you got in trouble for, or when one time you might have been disciplined?
have you got a lot of time? I was always in trouble. No, they were both, one didn't say one thing and some say the other. If Dad said, you know, you're going to get a licking, I got a licking. A belt. He could lay it on you, the belt, you know. And Mom was always cutting sticks, you know. And she'd light you up pretty good with a stick, but which we all had it coming. We were just all kids, you know. But our family had a great life. And
Is there anything in particular about how your family celebrated holidays?
well, we always ate pretty good, and I don't remember going to. Now we had my mother was 13 kids in her her and there was some of them that was close, you know, and so we'd go up. Her sister had married a guy named Gruy, and they had a farm, and we'd go up there about up in McConnellsville, and that was a 1-year trip that we'd make to go up there to visit. And I can remember when we go to bed, all the boys, they had, I think, 4 or 5 boys, and we all slept up in the attic. And there was an old steep thing you had to crawl there up and to get up there, you know. And of course, and then the next morning, I mean, it was out milking cows and stuff, and we was all, you know, ornery. But I had one, of course, they were cousins. And that one cousin, I think it was Floyd, their name was Gruy. But it was out there, and the cattle was out in the paddock there, and where they go over the hill into the pasture land. And there's a calf there, about, probably weighed 200 pounds. He told me, he said, go out there and get that calf by the tail. I said, what for? He said, well, just get out there and get him by the tail. He said, hang on and hold him. Of course, me, I was always up for anything. And I went out there and I got a hold of that calf's tail. And man, I'm telling you, it went crazy. And I was hanging on, it was dragging me all over the place. It took over the hill and I was down. I let loose. But so many things that I do, things that dares, you know, people they kids would dare me to do this, do that. We had an outhouse. That's a toilet. I always told them we had a fancy one. It was a two-holer. But I'd go out there in that daggone place, and I have to go to the bathroom. And they had, back then, they had nail kegs. They were little nail kegs, just about that high, and they were wood. And of course, I was little, you know. And one day, and I sat down on that thing. Well, I was so little, my butt slid on down in, and I got into my shoulders and my knees, and I couldn't get out. And I'd roll around and scream and cry and holler, and Mom would have to come drag me out of that keg. But it got to be a habit, you know, and she really raked me over a time or two. But she said, every time you come out here, what do you want to sit on that for? Well, I like that keg. Oh, that's another thing, one of my hitches that...
The world's gone through lots of changes in your time, and I was just wondering if there were any big world events that you remember from the time when you were growing up.
Well, of course, there was always wars, you know, come and go, and was all that, but I don't, any great big events, once in a while, they'd have an eclipse. They call it an eclipse of the moon, and they'd get glass and smoke it, you know, where you could see that, and that was something big. But as far as, well, of course, our world was small. We didn't travel like to Florida and all these places. I mean, it was just that little where we just born and raised there, and I'm still there, and I'll die there, you know. But thank God that my family was able to go out, and I took the girls and see a lot of the world, and we was in every state in the United States, and all of Canada was in all of the Providence in Canada, went to Alaska and 4 times. But them came after we were married and everything, you know. My dad got sick. He had, I finally took him to Columbus, and he had a rare blood disease. He was 69, something like that. And so, of course, they sent him home to die. And, you know, and Dad, he was a man of few words. I mean, he didn't worry much about it. And the one thing that I do regret about my dad, too, was I had, of course, that I grew up and got married and everything, but Dad would be sitting on the front porch, and I was in a hurry. I was building houses and stuff, and today I hate it, and I look back on it, and I'd be in a hurry, and I'd go by, and Dad would be sitting on the porch. I knew he was dying, you know. I knew just the time. And I can say, why didn't you stop and talk to Dad a little bit, you know? But I didn't do it. So I wish now I could have stopped and said, hi, Dad, how are you doing? But it still hurts. Yeah. But the worst thing that happened to us was when Dad, 69, passed away, and then Mom, that was another thing that I'll never forget. And Mom they were so close. After he passed away, and Mom didn't want to live. No, she didn't want to live. And we talked to her and everything, but she'd lay there on the couch, and she wouldn't eat. She did nothing. She just, we finally got her to go to the hospital. They couldn't find nothing wrong with her. They said, well, nothing really wrong with her. But anyway, she just willed herself to die, and so the doctor told us. He said, well, you ought to get a nurse up there. So we found some lady. It was, I guess she was a nurse. She come up. Yes, she was. She's a nurse. And she come there and brought her stuff. And of course, at the last, Mom just, she lay on the couch. She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't do nothing. I don't want to go where Dad's at. And so anyway, she did. She died. And this nurse got up and went and put her to check her heart, and she said, well, her heart's still beating. I said, people don't die like this. And she come back and sat down a little bit. She went again. Her heart was still beating. I said, she's dead, but her heart won't quit. 3 times she had to go back before Mom's heart quit. But she just willed herself. She wanted to go where Dad was at, And that was tough. That was a tough time back then. But
after high school, did you go into the military, go to college, or did you work and start a family?
Well, sir, we worked. That's all we done was work. That's all we knew. And we was 18, and when I was in school, this little red-headed girl from the first grade on, I liked her. But anyway, as time went on, we was in the 4th grade, and I got a Valentine, and it was Valentine's Day. And I got a Valentine, don't know where I got it, probably one my sister had or something. But I wrote on it, I think you're an angel with 2 wings, someday I'll buy you a pair of rings. And then wrote, pretty bad writing, I love you, do you? That's all was on it. So, anyway, well, after our 50th, I think it was her 60th anniversary, she come up to me. Of course, we went on through school together. I'm getting ahead of my story. Graduated together and always went together. She's the only girl I ever went with. And but anyway, of course, then we got married. We was both 18, and it was our 60th anniversary, I think it was. She come up, she said, do you remember this card? That's the card I sent you when you was 10 years old in the 4th grade, honey. All right, gee, evening, crowd. And she still got that card. Still got it. And we both cherish that card, I wouldn't say, do you love me? But I said, do you? I love you, do you? And we've been married a long time, 72 years. We've never had an argument yet. Hard to believe. But we were brought up, we have a God-given right to our opinion, which is right. You have an opinion, God-given opinion, that's right. And it is right. You too. They may different, but we're all different. And my wife and I, we knew that. And if we have anything to talk about in business or anything that we needed, to talk about together, why, she'll give her opinion. It might not suit me, and then I'll give my opinion. Maybe it won't suit her, and if neither one is a difference, we smile and walk away, and usually pray about it, and it works its way out. So there's no use arguing. Once you cross that line and say, "Oh, you ought to do it," you've already blew it. I mean, you're in for an argument. But just respect. That's what we were taught. Respect. I respect her. She respects me, and she respects my opinion. I respect her opinion. And back then, I mean, you never wore your hat on the table. If you did, you got your head knocked off. but you didn't wear a hat when you eat. You didn't wear your hat in the house. And back then, in the mornings, as you meet people or tip good morning. Try that today. People look at you and say, "What's the matter with that guy?" They don't even understand. But we were brought up that way, and I catch myself yet today wanting a good morning, and sometimes I do it. It gets away with me, but we were up in Pittsburgh. My wife had to be up there for some kind of procedure for a few days or weeks, and so my daughter was with us, and so we was going up the street one morning to get her breakfast, and pretty crowded people, well, not bad crowded, but once in a while somebody come in. But we was getting up to get her breakfast, and I don't know why I did it, but the lady came down, and I, "Good morning," tipped my hat, and she looked back at me. So she said, "Oh, that's crazy." So I had a lot of fun. I said, every morning that's what I did. Tipped. Oh, jeez.
Since you started talking about your relationship with your wife today, how did you both get engaged?
I don't know. We went through school together. We graduated together. We went to church together. She was born on the 5th of May, and I was born on the 20th of May. And her parents went to the same church as our parents, so they carried us in as babies. So we was going to church together when we were babies. It was an old Rockland Methodist church up there, but which was a great old church. But they tore it down, and put the new one up, and we still go there. But I don't know. I just asked her to get married, and that was fine, you know. And so we just had a great life, and still going.
How old were you both when you got married?
18.
18.
Yeah.
Where did you get married at?
In the church, Old Rockland Methodist Church. Yeah. Rucker, a man by the name of Rucker, Reverend Rucker. He married us.
Anything that you remember most about your wedding day?
I was happy. But of course I was nervous, you know, and she was too, but I still, you know, in memory I can see her with that little hat on that she, of course, back then. Another thing, you know, in the church too, we're talking about the church. Back then, you had a aisle, you go down, and there's seats on the one side and seats on the other. Well, when you went down that aisle, on the right-hand side, all the women sat over there. All the men sat on the left side, which I always thought, now, you know, I can look back and see that was but that was the way it was. And, yeah. But no, I can't remember. We were just happy to get married, that's all. You know, we just was.
What was your first job? And what did you like or not like about it?
Well, I had went to, of course, we had school. I'd went to school and to be a machinist, and my first job was rig and reel over in Parkersburg. I think, and I was a machinist. I think I got 50 cents an hour. That was in 1944, probably 41, and something like that. But that was my first job, of course. That's when they, of course, was recruiting everybody to go to war, you know, and so of course they. I got papers. I had to go to the service, and but I had to go. You'd have to examine you, you know, and so they put it. Well, all of us guys, all of them was from our schoolboys and everybody, on a bus, and then they took us somewhere up north, and they run you through all these doctors checking, you know, for everything. So I was doing all right till I come up to the guy that checked your feet, you know. Well, my dad always he'd tell me, he says, "There's something wrong with your feet." He said, "You'd ought to take them and have them gutted." He said, "They ain't right." Well, that doctor looked at my feet, and he said, "Can you walk?" Well, I said, "Yeah, I can walk, I can run or do anything." And he said, "Wait a minute." He went in the room there and he came out until I heard him tell him. He said, "Come out here, I want you to see something you've never seen in your life before." He came out and he said, "Look at that man's feet." He said, I never seen nothing like it. I got an extra bone. Where you got an arch, mine's a solid bone across. I don't have any arch. And when I walk, my feet's, see, when you walk, that arch, you know, gives. Well, I don't have any give. And he said, "Why, you wouldn't last no time." He said, "I'm marching." I said, "Man, I'll go just as I'll go just as far as you or any other man can go." I said, "Ain't nothing wrong with my feet." Of course, boy, that upset me, you know, because I wanted to go to service because all the other boys was going, you know. And, you know, they turned me down. I tried to get in the Navy. I tried to get in, Marines. Anyway, but it's just no use. And later on, when they really needed people, well, then they called me and I was to be inducted in the service. And it was just a few days before the war ended, and of course then they shut it all off. No, so I didn't have to go to service. Yeah.
What job did you do most in your lifetime?
I was a building contractor for 30 years. Build houses, put in subdivisions, and work. Hard work. Yeah.
What did you like or not like about it?
Well, I liked it when I got a payday when I sold a house. No, I did. I love to work with wood and love to build. I enjoyed that. Yeah, 30 years of it.
Are there any specific accomplishments that you felt were significant in your life?
Well,
career-wise?
I made it to 91. So I don't know. I just it's like I've said so many times. her and I, 18 years old, with nothing. We had nothing. We had no money. We had each other. I think we rented a place. It was $8 a month. And my parents had nothing. And I there was a farm Jim Wilcoxon had over there. But I rented that farm from him, and I'd just pay him at the end of the year so much, you know, when you get done. Well, he took a liking to me, and I farmed that for 2 or 3 years, and he said to me one day, he said, George, he said, why don't you buy this place? And I said, well, Jim, I don't have any money. He said, well, of course, nobody had any money to mount anything. He said, you do pretty good farming. He said, you just pay me in the year a little bit. So, you know, I don't know the amount or what it was, but then, and he said, I'll just sell you this place. Boy, I was just up in sky high, boy. Oh my goodness, how could this be, you know? just kid. Well, but anyway, I don't know how many years it was after that why he handed me deed to that property. Nice big two-story house, great big bank barn, and just beautiful. Run from a railroad track clear over the top of a hill. I was just, my dad, he said he didn't know how in the world that I got to do that. But anyway, after so many years, and things began to pick up, and things got to go on, and some of the back then, like Electromet and some of them was coming in, you know. And I got tired. I said, I said to my dad one day, I said, I'm going to build a house. He said, are you going to build a house? I said, yeah. He said, what are you going to do with the house? I said, hey, we just farm. It's all farmland. I said, I'm going to sell it. He said, you can't sell a house. There's nobody to buy it. But it was just strong in my head, and you know, because I had that land. And he said, where are you going to get the money? I said, well, I'll go down to Mr. Morris at the bank down there, and I said, he'll let me have it. So I can imagine now, here I, you know, 18-year-old down there talking to the president of the bank, and I just figured the way he looked down at me, and he thought, kid, what? You're not going to get no money here. He's fine. He said, well, if your dad will co-sign, I'll let you have it, which I think was maybe $4,000 or something to build a house. And I'd look at it today and know that it wasn't all me. It was a greater power than me. And I went down there and I laid off for the railroad. I moved moved up there, I think like 120 or 150 feet. I laid lots, 2 or 3 lots. And I put this street, which I called it Sycamore, which is now Rockland Avenue. And there's a couple of lots on the other side, and I started the house.
What advice do you have for people starting a career or beginning work?
Life's short. Enjoy your life while you can. Go do the things that you want to do. There's just more to life than out there, people and things to see, which, of course, as we got older, we got to see some of those things which my parents never did. See of all the beauty of this world. I mean, there's a lot of beauty out there, and we went places and did things we probably couldn't afford, but we did, but we afforded them anyway. So enjoy your life, and it's short, and you're just starting out, and I've said, told Pete, I've said, the good Lord says, George, I brought you into this world with nothing. He said, remember, son, I'm taking you out with nothing. You never own anything. You got a short span that he gave you. And then I'll tell you what I did, and I thought about it so much. Everything that's living on this earth has got a certain span. Of course, by being on the farm and having animals and everything, it would take an instant like horses, 30 years. That's a horse's lifespan. It's not 70, it's about 30. Your dog, about 15. He's got his span too. Everything on this earth has got a short span, a certain span that God gives them that they're going to be here. And that was a great lesson to me. And I had a cousin come to me. This has been probably 10, 12, 15 years ago. And she told me, she said, George, she said, I know you, and I know that you can remember so much of this thing of your life. I have a friend that we want to make a book of your life. And I said, what? And I said, yeah. I said, that's what we want to do. Well, I didn't know who the lady was. And I told her, I said, but now that back is when they had tape, these little tapes. And I made 4 90-minute tapes on each side of my life. And my cousin died. Boom. Well, I didn't know who the lady was that was that done the whatever. She took all of this, would take this and put into a book. And so here I got all these tapes. And I said, well, I just have to put them away somewhere. So I did. I put them away, and that's been way back. It's been years and years ago. So here, just a while back, I thought, I'm going to hunt them tapes up. Maybe I can get somebody to do that, just fun. And do you know I can't find but one tape? The other 3 tapes are missing. But it's just not supposed to be, I guess. But the 3 of those 90-minute tapes are missing. But I would have. It just happened so quick and so, but I hated it awful bad. But to this day, I've never played that tape. But I'm going to play that tape right away. I want to see what it says. But I hesitate because it's so old. I don't want it to break, but if it breaks, it breaks, So, but I want to know what it says. And we dropped off on that Alcan Highway, and it was raining and mud. Oh, it was like that car, when they come in, you can hardly see the car for mud. But anyway, we got probably, we didn't get very far until I had a flat tire. Well, I put one of my spares on. Went on, wasn't long, had another flat tire. I'm around, I ain't going to have enough tires. Well, 100 Mile, there was a place that you could pull in that the Canada had for that purpose. If people need any work done on their car. So I pulled in there to that guy, and I said, I'm just about out of tires. I said, can you fix these tires? Oh, yeah. He said, we'll take care of it. They fixed the tires, and so we put them back on there and on the tops and pinned them down, and he said, I said, you know what? I said, I pumped them tires up just as hard as I could get them without blowing them up. I said, I didn't want to run them old sharp rocks through them tires, I said, and puncture them like that. And he said, that you just done wrong. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you got too much air in them. and he said, talking about, I said, well, how about you letting my tires down on all four, or all, well, it was been 8 of them that had tandem. I said, how about you letting them tires down to where they should be? Well, he did, and they looked like it was going flat. And he said, now, don't worry about it. You drive 35 miles an hour, and said you'll drive right into Tok, Alaska, and you'll never have another. I thought, you got to be kidding me. But I thought, he knows. And we did. We drove then right on into Alaska. Never had another flat tire. But boy, I tell you, I wouldn't have made it either. Them other people didn't know.
I know we've talked about your marriage to your wife and about your career. Tell me about your family and your children. How many children do you have?
Got 4 daughters, 4 wonderful Christian daughters. They're good Christian girls, and they go to church and believe in God, and they're great. It's wonderful. And the youngest one, she lived in Florida 25 years, and she got so sick of it. She called me one day, and she said, Dad, she's probably crying. She does a lot of crying. But anyway, I am so sick of this place down here. She said, I don't know what to do. She said, can I come home? She had a nice home, 5 acres of land. I said, yeah, you can come home. So she gathered up, went and rented one of them great big trucks. I mean, one great big, that thing must have been 28 foot long, and one of the big boxes, and she loaded all her furniture and everything in that thing, and she drove that thing herself up over the mountains and everything. She said, I cried all the way up in mountains praying that I'd be all right. So she come in, and boy, I had some space that I could put stuff, but I don't anymore. She stored all of her stuff in the basement and then my other building and stuff. But so she said, I'll take care of you and Mom, you know. So but then all the girls come, and we get together a lot of times and have a great time.
What was each of the girls like when they were young?
Well, the oldest one, of course, Sandra, she was just, of course, that was back, say she's 60, I think about 60 years old, about 60 years ago. She was good. She never was in any trouble, and she was, she had a temper like all kids, but she was a little, I call her a little Spitfire, you know, and I'd take her by the hand and go places with her, and she had the curliest hair. She was just a doll baby. And of course, after all 4 of them come, I was trying for a boy and I couldn't get one, so I quit. I asked the doctor, I said, if we get another baby, I said, what's that? He said, probably be a girl. I said, that's enough. But anyway, I can remember when the girls was little, of course, I don't know how their age was, but they were the first ones. But I can remember Mom, Eleanor, she used to make all their dresses and made them out of feed sacks. Well, seed, you buy feed for like your pigs or cow, horses, whatever. You could buy some, and it was in gingham sacks. She'd take them sacks and make dresses out of them, and I can remember. I look back now and think about how Eleanor had to wish for all his 4 girls, and of course that was in the old house on the farm, and I'd had where you hang stuff, you know, and I've seen her go out there and hang that stuff, and it'd freeze on the line. Just, and we had an old big fireplace in there, and we'd bring that in and string it around and try to dry their clothes out. But they're all good girls. They've never been in trouble. But they, of course, I try to tell them, and they have to live their own life. That's one thing that I think people too tries to make their kids be what they want them to be. But you got to let people. We're all different. It don't make us wrong, but we're different. And so when God made us, He made us different. Been awful if we was all alike, like me. But anyway, them are things that my girls, I'm so proud of them.
So Sandra's the oldest?
Yes.
So who came after Sandra?
Sandra, and then there was Judy.
Okay.
She lives down in South Carolina, and she's had she's married to one of the greatest guys you'd ever meet. And so Judy had to have an operation. It was simple. But anyway, down there, and the doctor, in operating on her some way, and with a knife or whatever they call that thing and cut with, hit her esophagus and cut it. Well, the esophagus you can't patch it. It's impossible. It has to heal itself. And she lived on a tube where they poured stuff in and went into and she lived on that. And he took care of her, just always with her in the hospitals and all the operations that she had to go through with and everything. They'd have to get down and check it every once in a while to see if it was healing. But we was all praying for her, and she'd be all right. And we thought there for a while we'd lose her. And her husband Bob was the greatest guy in the world. You'd never meet a finer man, healthy as a horse. I stayed right with her all through it all, for weeks and weeks and maybe 2 or 3 months. And wouldn't you know that after she got pretty well, pretty decent, he got sick. And what had happened, his what do you call it? Your intestines had got a hole in it, and it all went out, and it's full of all kinds of. But anyway, I think probably about 3 weeks. I think he died. So she's left alone, but her esophagus healed up. They got everything out, so she's doing real good. And
then who was after Judy?
After Judy was you asked me too quick. Cindy, or it's Lou Cindy, but everybody calls her Cindy. Yeah, and so she lives in Devola. We was up there. They had us up there the other night. Had a big. Well, my granddaughter, she graduates this year, and they had a big shindig about her that way, and everything in the world to eat. Of course, that's our family's eaters, all of them. But we love to eat, and so then, Cindy, and then Tammy. That's the youngest one that moved up from Florida. Yeah, Sandra, Judy, Pendy, and Tammy. Yeah, but
I know you didn't get to take a lot of vacations when you were young, but you had expressed that you were able to take your family on vacation.
You bet I did. I took them kids places everywhere.
What was the most memorable family vacation you took?
I think the one that sticks in my mind, we were at, I think in one of the western states, and we just was going through. I think probably going to Alaska. I don't know, but anyway, they's having a cowboy roundup, you know, big deal. We just happened to get into that town where that's happening. So we was in there with everybody else, you know, and all hooping and yelling and all of this, and all at once we was standing there, the girl was, and this great big guy come along and he grabbed Cindy and took off with her. Away he went. What's going on? You know, and but anyway, I don't remember. I was so dumbfounded, and well, the big crowd there was all around us. But anyhow, he stepped on Eleanor's foot and cut her toe with getting away. But anyway, we was worried to death. But they finally announced, said the little girl that was taking it, it's all in a show. And said that was Big Bart. He's part of the show going on, you know. So I never forgot that. And they took my little girl. Yeah, and then now before they ever had the Alcan Highway, it was nothing but dirt, gravel, and dirt road. It just, nobody, only trucks followed. I said to Eleanor one day, I said, we're going to take the girls and we're going to Alaska. Drive that Alcan Highway. Boy, we went over town, couldn't afford it probably, and bought a little trailer, 17-foot trailer, took all 4 of the girls, and we left for Alaska. Had to go up through Canada. We got up there and the weather wasn't very good. I pulled into a place before you get onto the Alcan Highway. I forget the name of that place. But anyway, at the town there, and we pulled in there at a campground for trailers, and we're going to stay overnight, and we're going to leave the next morning. So we was there and seen a car come in, and on the back of it had a sign that said Alaska or bust. And I said, well, they've been there, and I'll ask him just how things are, you know. And so there's a couple of boys there, their kids, and I said to them, well, I said, how was Alaska? I said, did you like it? They kind of looked funny and said, we never made it. I said, what? You didn't make it? No, he said, we blew up all of our tires and we couldn't get any more, and he said they advised us to turn around and come back. And I thought, whoa, is it that bad? I thought, of course, I'm pretty bullheaded. I said, I'm going to Alaska. I don't care. Elder said, you're going to go? I said, yeah, we're going to go. In the morning. Well, anyway, I had tires strapped on top of the camper and on top of the old car.
What did you try and teach your girls growing up, and what do you feel that was important for them to know?
Respect was my top priority. Was respect and live a Christian life. Trust God for everything. He's the one that made you. He put you in this world. So always trust in Him. And they do. They all pray and they all go to church, and they're good kids. Not kids anymore. They're good people.
Did you and your family, meaning your wife and your girls, how did you celebrate your holidays, and did you have any special family traditions?
Had just big dinners and lots of eating. That's what it was. When I was on the farm, why, it was killing the 2 or 3 chickens, and we'd have everything, and I had all kinds of vegetables, and of course we canned everything, and boy, we did eat good. I'll say that.
What was the best thing about becoming a parent?
Well, it taught me a lot of things. That I come to realization of what my dad and mom went through when they raised me. I found out, of course, I wanted to raise my kids just like I was raised, which I think I did, and I'm proud of that. I'm glad that they think on the lines that I think, and I'm not always right. It's like I tell them, I said, now, we all make mistakes, but I tried to raise them the way that I was raised.
Tell me about what hobbies or interests do you enjoy or have you enjoyed doing?
Oh, I love to fish and hunt. Went on lots of hunting trips when I couldn't afford to, but I went anyway. That's just me. I don't know how my wife ever stayed with me, but she always agreed with me too. She always wanted me to have, enjoy. I worked hard when I was, always worked hard. And I went on several elk hunts. I killed a big 6x6 elk out in, I think it was Colorado. And of course, I've hunted all out through the West, and and fished. Love to fish. I used to go to Florida every winter. Till this past winter, didn't go. But I fished down there about every other day. Down there while I was in the winter, I had friends down there, and I had boats. I had a big bass boat, and I used to do a lot of bass fishing and stuff like that. That was, and of course, later years, when I thought I could afford a boat, and as my traveling days, a lot of them was I've been everywhere and done everything. Even went to Hawaii. Boy, what a trip that was. Mm-hmm. The trip over was good, but 12 hours on a plane, coming home, So that was everybody enjoyed that.
What brings you the most pleasure now?
Well, being alive, probably. Ain't that awful? But no, I get a lot of pleasure out of the girls, my kids, grandkids. Sometimes I want to knock them in the head, but straighten them out. No, they're great. They're great. I don't mean that derogative. But
do you have a favorite place that you've been, or a favorite place that you like to go?
Well, like the old saying, I've been everywhere and done everything, but I still enjoy going to a gospel sing or something like that. I do enjoy that, and of course I've made several gospel tapes, CDs. I've got several CDs, and I've given away a lot of them. I used to make tapes too, way back, all gospel tapes. Well, I made some country western, and I used to have a band, and back when I was young, and they're all gone but me. They're all gone. But we used to have a lot of fun. The boys would all come and bring their instruments, and and we'd play way up into the night, and women would get tired. When are you going to quit? But those are days gone by, but all the guys that was in the band, they're all dead and gone. It's just so hard to believe that just look, all my buddies are gone. It's just, but Lord, it's okay. I still enjoy it. Just keep me here.
Do you have any favorite quotes, sayings, or words that you live by?
Probably a lot of them, if I could think of them. I know my kids, you're always saying that, Dad. But when certain things come up, something just comes up in my head to say, and I say it. I just, and it's just a quick thing. It comes and goes, and you don't really remember.
At this moment in time, what life lessons have you learned, and what is most important to you now?
Well, my family is the most important thing to me. My wife. After 72 years of marriage, if anything had happened to her, I wouldn't want to live. She is so much a part of me, and I'm the same way to her. But after you've been that many years together, we still love to hold hands, sit on the couch and watch TV, and we love to kiss each other. We never fight, we never fuss. We just love each other.
What's the best advice that you've ever received?
Live for Christ. Do what He wants you to do. Pray. That's all there is, You're just here a while. If you live for Christ and pray every day, and anything you need, God will, if it's His will, He will give. And always trust in God, everything.
In a few words, sum up what you want people most to remember about you.
I'm a nut. No, I'm not. No, I shouldn't have said that. But that's my things like that just comes off the top of my head that I don't know. I never thought about it. But I do enjoy life, and everybody should enjoy life. You got such a short time, and you just live it to the fullest, and like I've said so many times, you put your trust where it ought to be in God, and whatever His will is going to be anyway. And that's I've lived a great life, and I'm happy that I have lived like I did, and I'd love to do it all over again,